Well, good morning. What's going on, fart knockers? Hey, I miss Beavis and Butthead. Hey, this CT70 clone has the stock carburetor. My green one, which I'll put a picture right there, I put a Nibbi on right away. These carbs are tamper-proof, and I know you can drill the screws out, which I've done actually, and drill out the plug so you can adjust the idle jet, and yada yada. But the choke and several other things about the carburetor just kind of flaky. I don't like them. And the proof was today. I wheeled both bikes outside. Haven't started them since October, and it's March. And the green bike, I don't know that it turned over more than twice and fired right up, ran on the choke circuit, warmed up, turned the choke off, it was ready to ride. The Nibbi Carb just works absolutely fantastic. I believe on that bike I ended up with a 105 main and a 38 pilot with the needle one click down, which moved the needle up one click, right? Or one groove. That needle position moving up and down helps get rid of that initial bog. So yeah, and on that one, I put a 22 millimeter, which is probably good for me, but it is really aggressive once it's jetted right. It pulls really hard as soon as you give it throttle. That could be part due to the Nibbi quarter turn throttle I put on it. I'm gonna try to make the stock throttle work with the Nibbi. I bought a Nibbi 19 for this one. And I'm gonna try to make the stock throttle work with that so that it's not a quarter turn. It's a little aggressive for a new rider. You could be in some weird technical stuff and just wanna give it a little throttle, and the next thing you know, you're full throttle. Or what feels like full throttle. Not that these are, more than 300 horsepower, but anyway, you guys that ride know what I'm talking about. So today I'm gonna remove that intake. Actually, everything from here up and back will get replaced with a Nibbi intake, a Nibbi carburetor, and a Nibbi pod filter. And I'm gonna try to use the actual OEM throttle. I do have a Nibbi throttle. It's a quarter turn, so I'm gonna try to not use that, but if I can't make this throttle work, I might have to. So anyway, let's look at this carburetor. So here it is, little Nibbi 19. As you can see, the pilot jet or the idle screw air mixture is fully accessible and adjustable. The choke is a normal choke, not weird flippy thing that turns a butterfly that you don't know if it's working or not. And then it has a regular slide needle, pilot and main jet, like a regular old school Mikuni carb. These carbs are actually really good. Like I said, that one's been sitting since October and she fired right up. No issues with the gasoline here in California, which I would imagine can contain alcohol. But yeah, let's pop the bowl off and see what we got for jets from the factory. And we have jet kits, intake, gaskets, new filter, all the things. And if needed, we have a throttle over there, or is it right there? I don't know, it's one of those boxes. So let me grab some tools. First thing we're gonna do is pop these two screws off and pop off the bowl and see what jets came in it. Stand by. Okay, as expected, perfectly clean inside. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's never been used. The Nibbis come with a splash guard to help stabilize the fuel sloshing around in the bowl on uneven terrain. So that just pops right off. Then the main jet's right there and the pilot jet's right underneath this section here. Another thing I like to do when I have this off, obviously, is to check the float level. I like to take and turn the carburetor at like 45 and make sure that line, that seam on the float is level with this base, right? That's a good starting point. And it looks pretty good. I'll also connect a hose to the fuel inlet and blow a little bit and make sure that, there's no obstructions. There shouldn't be, but Might as well check it now while the carburetor's in my hand, right? So let's pop off these jets and see what we have. Looks like the Pilot is a 32, IB 32. I'm gonna probably go to a 38 because that's what I had success with on the other carburetor. Even though it's a little bigger, you can usually turn out over fueling a little bit with the air mixture. What do we have here? A 98. And I'm gonna bump that up to a 105. So let's see if we can find a 38 and a 105. It might be a little rich, but I'm running a pod air filter and hopefully we can make that work. So let's go to a 38 and a 105 main. Let me see if I can find that in my bag of goodies. By the way, I'll list a link to the bag of jets for a Nibbi carburetor. Oh, here we go. Whoa. That's a 38, the very first one that I pick up. Are you kidding me? Well, let's set him over here as a contender. Remember, stock was 32. So I also want to try a 35 maybe. Let's see if we can find a 35. 38 might be pushing it with this small of a carburetor. 42. That's definitely going to be too big. That might work on the KLX over there. That's the one that's going to get a Nibbi Carb next. Whoa, 52, huge. 35, there's a 35. So yeah, let's, there's a 35 and a 38. Those are the two that I might decide from. Let's look at mains now. I need a 105, 135. Anyway, I'll stop this until I find the right one. And of course, 2 jets later, I pick up a 105. So there's our 105. And I've got to decide now, do I want a 38 or a 35 Pilot? Anyway, let's flip a coin. All right, we went with the 105 main and a 38 Pilot. Based on jetting the original, my green CT, I think that's gonna be the safe option. So let's put this bowl back on after we put the anti-sloshing cap on, and look at the slide and see where the spring or the needle is on the slide. I want to move it up 1 click, I believe. So from the factory, the needle's already 1 clip down on the circlip, which raises the needle in the slide, right? If you move the clip up, it would lower the needle in the slide. So I'm going to leave that like it is, and we'll go from there. This is an easy adjustment to make after the fact anyway. So I think, excuse me, I think I had to tinker with this on the green bike to get this just right, to get rid of that bog and get it to run right. So let's start here and see what happens. So it looks like I might be able to make this work. I just need to take this elbow out of this. Look how much smaller the factory slide is. I mean, look at this little guy. And take this elbow out of here, which involves, I already did it actually, popping the rivet there, which now I can take this out, and then slightly drilling the Nibbi carburetor out and sliding this guy in. There we go. And then using the factory rubber to hold it all together. Let's see how that works. Okay, so here's the modified elbow. I maybe shortened it on this end on the belt sander 1/16 of an inch. Then I sanded down the outside a little bit to get rid of the burrs. And then I drilled this out so that it would fit in there. And I think we're good. But yeah, look at the difference here, slides. Anyway, let's try to put it together. Okay, one thing you're gonna be up against switching out to a Nibbi is your pollution stuff is not going to work unless you make provisions for it. And what you would have to do is your air filter would need a place for this to connect. And this would need to connect. I believe this went to the carburetor. Yeah, it did, the vacuum source on the carburetor. So I'm gonna remove all that because the Nibbi doesn't have that. This is a aligned to a filter, I believe. But the most important part is you have your tank vent. You see it right here coming back. It goes around in a circle here and goes all the way back down and then into this over here on this nipple right there. You're gonna detach it from this nipple, pull it up and around so you have this extra hose. You're gonna wanna remove this check valve, and I replaced it with a filter, and then I just coiled the fuel tank vent around the battery and back out to the back here. I mean, is the filter necessary? Probably not, but I mean, why not? So let's do that real quick. All right, so fuel filter's in place. I'll cut this line so that it's just long enough to wrap around the battery back and then into the tail here, underneath here. Remember, don't do this if you live in a state where removing emissions is illegal, because that's illegal. Also, I always cut the end of my vent line that's going to be exposed to the atmosphere at an angle. That way it can't, butt up against something and get plugged. You really can't see it now, but yeah, the line goes back. Let's see if I pull this off. Yeah, there's the filter. And it wraps around. As long as it's not, in a position where it can get kinked, you should be good to go, because that'll cut off your vent to your fuel tank, and you don't want that. Otherwise, you're going to be stopping every 10 seconds and taking off your gas cap. All right, let's button this back up and put on the intake manifold and carburetor. Yeah, don't forget, you can take this guy off now. He's held on with one bolt right there. And the large line that was connected to your air filter, just push it back in here. It's fine. The other line that was coming down and connected to this nipple is the one that you pulled up and now wrapped around the top. So if you go through water, don't go any deeper than this, right? All right, I put a little Yamabond, just a light coat, Yamabond 4 on there. You're gonna mount this in the hole that kicks it out to the left as much as possible. So it's gonna be this hole. Oops, you can't see that. It's gonna be this hole and this hole. And I'm gonna use the stock bolts. I think something else I had to do was loosen this and slide the petcock all the way back. Let's look at the green bike. Yep, that's exactly what I did. So let's do that real quick. All right, now I need to figure out, or try to remember which insulator block I used. I think I used this thick one that has an O-ring on one side, put a gasket on the other. Let's see if I can compare. Yep, that's definitely the one I used, because the other one is quite a bit thinner, as you can see. So let's do this one. Getting close. Okay, got to put the air filter on. I sprayed a little Canon air filter oil on here, and I'm going to rub it in with my hands and slip the cover back on, and then put the air filter on. All right, before we put the air filter on, let's look at the install here. I used the bolts that came with this adapter, the thicker block here, a gasket, and Yamabond 4 here. As you can see, these bolts are just long enough. Fuel line, cockpit, I had to, or petcock, cockpit. Petcock, I had to loosen this bolt and rotate it, or slide it all the way back to have room for the throttle adjustment, or idle adjustment. I reused the OEM Champion throttle cable, and by putting that piece of brass from the OEM carb into the top of this cap. Seems to work. We'll find out once it's warmed up. Want to make sure that the throttle doesn't rev when we turn the handlebars both ways, right? Lock to lock. Remove the emissions stuff. Set up the vent under the seat with the fuel filter. Again, I don't know that fuel filter is required. I just like putting a filter on anything that's going into my tank. Speaking of, I don't know if I've mentioned it this time, but always put a fuel filter on these bikes. Those fuel tanks are horrible. No matter how hard you try to get them clean on the inside, there's always something in there, rust, particulates, or whatever. Can't really see it on this fuel filter, but on the green bike, there's all kinds of stuff floating around on this side. So yeah, put a fuel filter on before you even start the bike. Save yourself a lot of headaches. That I believe is just an Amazon fuel filter. But yeah, that's it. Let's put the filter on, fire it up, let it warm up, adjust the idle air mixture screw, and see how she runs. Choke is off. I don't expect it to start right up, but I'm gonna have to adjust the idle speed once it's warmed up. Whoa, 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 whoa. Responds well to the idle speed adjustment. So yeah, let's just let it warm up and then I can mess with the mixture if it needs it. Should be a little bogged. Or not. Maybe the 19 millimeter is the way to go. Huh. Let's let it warm up. She's running good. Actually, I'm going to say the 19 is a better fit, carburetor wise. It runs smoother, has less mid-range, like, I don't know, bog or lag, whatever you want to call it. It actually runs really, really good. I had to put the needle clip up almost all the way to the top, second one from the top, to lower the needle. It was too rich. Mid-range was chugging and farting and belching. It was just sputtering. So sputtering is, you know, typically too rich. Bog is too lean. It was definitely doing all the things that pointed to it being too rich. I lowered the needle 2 spaces, right? It was in the second from the bottom. I put it from the second from the top, and that cured that. She runs like a top. So very happy with that. After it warmed up, I fiddled around a little bit with the idle air mixture. Got it to where I think I want it. The idle jet, I used the 38, right? Yeah, that might be too big. 35 might be a better starting point, especially if we go up in elevation, right? I think it's right at the edge of being a little too fat right now. But yeah, I'm happy. It's bolted up, it's together, it's running, starts, does everything it's supposed to do, and was able to retain the factory throttle. So I guess if this video helps you in any way, please give me a thumbs up. That's more important than subscribing. And you can also support the channel with the Venmo link down in the description. And I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one. Next project for the blue bike is going to be to replace the swing arm with this aftermarket one with better bushings. I can already feel the side-to-side play in that one. I doubt it has 250 miles on it. And they have really bad bushings in them, so the swing arm rocks back and forth like that inside the frame. And I'm not sure why they don't fix that from the factory, but they have not. So yeah, next video might be a swing arm replacement video.
Haven't found any camels yet, but we out here.